Give me a second. Let me show. Well, it's trying to go live.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, good buddy. Come on, good buddy. Come on. Look, this thing taking, look, it's taking a, oh, it's having trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Let's try it again. Press this button again. It won't let me do it. Hold on a second. Come on, man. Come on now. I am thoroughly convinced that AT&T and Xfinity or Comcast
Mm-hmm.
It's
um,
counting.
are
It's
purposely slowing down the internet speeds. I just, um, yeah, and I have unlimited. I have unlimited, and it's like I've talked to people who have Xfinity, and they said they
Mm-hmm.
experienced the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they blame it on the number of people who are at home using the internet.
Mm-hmm.
well, there
I
is a
see the
lot of
This is
countdown
streaming.
too.
nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
showing
showing live.
live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Almost 2 minutes live, it
There
looks
we
like.
go. All right, all right. Welcome
Okay.
everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the reset. Today's episode we plan to talk about the working class. Today's episode is entitled "Expressing the Working Family." Want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank everybody for tuning in the last episodes that we've had. This coronavirus series, we've gotten a lot of good feedback. A lot of people have commented and sent instant messages, really appreciative of the information that they've been able to get from these series of our podcasts that we've been doing. I want to thank all the guests that have appeared. And tonight's no different. Tonight, I have a very special show for you. Two of my guests are professionals in each of the arenas that they are in. We have for you tonight Miss Alicia Cross and Miss Latrice Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to start this off, if you don't mind, Alicia, introduce yourself, who you are, where you live, and what you do.
Okay. Andre, thank you for inviting us here onto your platform to speak with everyone. My name is Alicia Cross, and I live in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I work at a private nonprofit child care facility in Gaithersburg, and I am assistant director. I also help out and substitute in the classrooms when needed, and I also help with teacher assistance and mentoring as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good, very good. Ms. Williams, what do you do? Where are you from? And what you all about, girl?
Okay. Well, again, my name is Latrice Williams, and I am a mother. And yes, I say I'm a mother first, a parent first, and I'm a teacher by trade, and now a recently published author.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yes, thank you. And I'm
Congratulations.
from, thank you so much. I'm from San Diego, California. I currently live in El Paso, Texas, with my husband and my 3 children. I guess just to give a little background, as Mr. Clay asked me to share, my oldest daughter, she has cerebral palsy. She has special needs, and she's about 13 now. So we have, dealt with her condition and taking care of her throughout the years. And it hasn't been easy, but that's why I say I'm a parent first, because I initially put my teaching career on the back burner once I realized she had special needs as a baby. So I'm kind of just getting my feet wet again. I've taught social studies at a private school here in El Paso the previous school year. This past school year, I taught science at a public school for 2nd through 5th grade. And yes, since we've been on this COVID stay-at-home order, the idea to work with my son to publish this book came about. I recently noticed that his drawings, my son is 10 years old, his drawings on his own comic books that he likes to do were pretty good. And I said, wow, you're getting to be a pretty good artist. Maybe you can illustrate some pages in my children's book. And this children's book I wrote about my oldest daughter who has special needs. And this book was written back in 2013. And I did not publish it then because I wasn't ready to invest the money to pay a professional illustrator. So again, at this time, with us being on these stay-at-home orders and noticing my son's drawings, we went ahead and worked together. I said he's a great artist, and he did a great job illustrating 11 pages of the book. And we published it on Amazon as an ebook currently. So I guess, maybe that's enough to share about myself at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I like that. That's very good. Very good. Your dilemma definitely speaks to the dilemma that a lot of working parents are going through, given this pandemic experience. And as we move on, I do want to, as I usually do during the podcast, there are a couple of articles I wanted to run by you ladies. The first one is from The Hill, written by Thomas Mokatis. It's called The Working Poor Health and past epidemics have disproportionately hurt the poor. COVID-19 outbreak is proven to be no exception. Those was jobs as a resource economic effect of the pandemic, and the federal government could do more to help them. That $1,200 ain't enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it kicked me out for a second.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was. Okay. All right then. All right. Let me go over this article again. The working poor will suffer the worst health and economic effects of COVID-19. Past pandemics have disproportionately hurt the working poor. The COVID-19 outbreak is proven to be no exception. Those with the lowest paying jobs and the fewest financial resources are most vulnerable to the infection and most susceptible to the adverse economic effects of the pandemic. The federal government could do more to help them. The poor and working class have always lived in less healthy conditions than the rest of society. In the 19th century, for instance, cholera epidemics ravaged the slums of American societies. The well-to-do, who could afford to live in more I always screw this word up, salubrious suburbs and towns, often blame the poor for their plight, especially immigrants, whom they accused of choosing to live in disease-inducing squalor. Once those in power realized that the waterborne contagion could infect nice neighborhoods, quote unquote, they paid more attention. Yeah. In other words, once it started affecting the white folks, then they paid attention. Today, America's poor do not live in the squalid conditions of early industrial cities, but they cannot easily follow the CDC guidelines on social distancing. Many live in small, often crowded apartments. Most have low paying hourly wage jobs. I know in a lot of ADOS families, we tend to live multi generationally. We tend to have mom, the baby, grandma, everybody living in the house at one time. If they do show up for work, they don't get paid. To get to their job, they have to take mass transit, putting themselves in closer contact with more people and therefore at greater risk of infection. School closings also disproportionately affect hourly wage earners. Besides creating childcare nightmares, closing schools also add to food insecurity. Low income parents rely on school lunch programs to supplement their children's nutrition. Many districts have made lunches available for pickup, but preparing them requires low paid staff or volunteers who may face the same hardships.
Cut out.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back in.
Okay.
That last part, many districts have made lunches available for pickup, but preparing them requires low paid staff or volunteers who may face the same hardships as the people they are feeding. Recipients might need access to a car to pick up food. These are just some of the hardships that some people face when dealing with this pandemic that we're going through in this country. Um, I do have some questions I wanted to run past you ladies, and I think I want to start with Miss Williams. One of the questions being with you being a professional and a working parent who's had to deal with this epidemic, especially with having your children at home and your spouse at home. Um, I guess if I was a parent, I would want to know how can I utilize technology in a beneficial way for my children? What would you suggest?
Okay, well, technology, when dealing with children, can be a curse or it can be a blessing. I know that, especially with parents working from home now. I know even some personal friends have stated that they feel a little guilty because their children are kind of on the iPad all day, where they're trying to get work done. So, that is kind of a struggle, but there are definitely some apps and websites and programs that children can learn from when they're using iPads or when they're on the computer or desktop or laptop. So one particular program I'm aware of is called Epic Books, and that's EPIC. And there's thousands of books on this website that the children can pretty much even access themselves. It doesn't take a lot of parent intervention or assistance. They can just kind of scroll through the book titles, click on what they see, what they like. They can read it to themselves, or there's even an option where they can click on audio and the program will read aloud the book to them. So I've been using that even for my youngest child, which she's 5. And they love it. The graphics, the illustrations, they're just brightly colored, and again, they can be read to if they're not at a level where they can read themselves. And my daughter's been very interested, engaged for a good amount of time, maybe 30-40 minutes. She can sit there and she's engaged in reading different books. And the program also allows them to generate points. So that's kind of like an incentive and a motivator for some children. And this program, I do believe that, I found out about this program through one of my children's teachers. So if you have a teacher that already has like an account for students, then it's free. And then if you're a parent trying to sign up for it, it may cost money. I'm not sure because I did get it through my daughter's school. So I have free access to it. But definitely at this time where everyone's on the stay-at-home order, I think it's a program that's even worth paying for, if you're not able to get it for free. So yeah, that's one particular program. Also, I would say Kindle Unlimited, which they're offering thousands of books as well. I believe you have to set up an account with Amazon, which is free to do. And then you can choose Kindle Unlimited to read different book selections. And these are adult books, children's books, pre-K level, all different types of level books. And actually, my book is on there.
All right.
Yes. And I didn't mention the name earlier, so I will say it. It's called I Can Help My Sister. So it's available through Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. Now, with that, too, you can read the books for free because they're offering it free because of COVID-19 going on. So for a couple of months, you're able to read certain books, certain selected books for absolutely free. And then some books you will actually purchase through there. But that's another great site for kids to use during this time. Okay. And then lastly, I would just share for physical activity. There's a site called Go Noodle. Noodle, like the ramen noodles people know of. So Go Noodle. The children can go on there. And again, this site is pretty kid friendly, doesn't take a lot of parent intervention or assistance, and they can just kind of follow videos, exercise along with them. And also, I believe they do yoga on there. A lot of parents, educators, social workers, and different programs are now into yoga for kids, and that has different benefits for them. So I believe that's available on Go Noodle as well. And then even just YouTube, just looking up exercise videos for children to, sometimes.
Wow, that's pretty useful.
Yeah, because sometimes, especially where we live, it's getting very warm outside. So the kids can't really play outside once it's hit a certain time of day. So you can pull up a exercise video, on YouTube, and the kids can jump around with them. And it's some pretty good ones I found online too for that physical activity. Yeah, so those are a few that I would say parents can access to utilize technology in a beneficial way for their children. Yeah.
Okay. So I would to add to the books, I would say Scholastic.
Well, Alicia, same question. How can parents utilize technology? It's boring a little bit.
Yeah.
It's freezing up a little bit.
Yeah. So as far as children, when it comes to like the books, Scholastic.com has a lot of activities that they've created for parents, and as well as some books. And I think they also have activities that you can order if parents are looking for to be able to create some activities to do at home. The library as well. Your public library has a lot of books for download that I'm sure everyone is downloading books right now. But that is also a source if you have a library card. And I believe they also have videos that you would be able to utilize. Audio book also has some free downloads. They have some suggested books that they've allowed for families to have access to, and I think they break it out by like elementary, teen, and then like older, I guess like adult children or young adults, so that they have access to different reading materials. When you're thinking about technology and you're thinking about young children, there's always been that, you kind of stray away from that, and it's hard to say, if it's appropriate and if it's not appropriate. And I think that we're at a day and age where technology, is like a double-edged sword, so to speak. It's very beneficial. However, too much of it can create some other issues. So I would say to the parents that just make sure that what children are using when it comes to technology and websites, that it's learning, it creates and promotes learning, and to limit that, and not so that it's not too excessive. The YouTube, there are a bunch of videos on there where children can learn crafts. I mean, they have the story time. A lot of authors have been reading their books to children on there. A lot of local artists and well-known artists, because they're stuck at home too, are on there teaching you how to paint and how to doodle. And so depending on the topic, I think it's a great way to be able to promote your child's intelligence and what are they good at, and grab that talent. If they're artistic, this is the time that you can find some artistic or creative ways to keep them busy by utilizing some of this technology. And when children do something that they love, they're busy. I mean, they will be focused, they will be into it. And, you may find that you can get a lot of work done when it's something that they enjoy, versus something that you're doing just to pass the time. So you just really have to, know your child, know what's going to interest them, and definitely being in the house, you got to pick and choose your battles. So it is challenging. My children are older now. My daughter is a freshman in college, so she's finishing up her first year. And, she was going into class. She was not doing it online. So it's a challenge for her. So, I mean, it is a challenge. You're sharing the space, the home space and the technology. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's funny that you mentioned that. That was a pretty good lead up to the next question, because, with parents coping with kids who have to stay at home and the schoolwork that they're doing, one of my friends is a teacher, and she talks to me a lot about how she holds, the online classroom thing with her students. And so, but aside from classrooms, or aside from the schoolwork that kids have to do, if I was a parent, I got a question. How does a parent keep the kids engaged or occupied outside of the schoolwork? What can parents do to keep them engaged or occupied? Miss Williams, what do you think?
Well, even as Miss Cross was saying that, the best thing is to kind of let children take that lead. And, once you know what they are really interested in, then they can kind of be self-directed in projects that are going to take up their time. And, they're not going to be huffing and puffing and sighing about, you telling them go to this website and watch this video, or go do this or go do that. So like, for instance,
Right.
with my 10-year-old son, he loves building Legos. And that's definitely, with science and engineering and math skills and all that. And it's just play, for the kids, when they kind of can just build Lego sets, or, doing different things with blocks, even playing like board games. Of course, people sometimes don't think those are really learning experiences that children are having, especially like if you're playing Yahtzee, or if you're playing, Yahtzee with the dice and you're counting and, strategy involved. If you're playing Battleship, dealing with the Axis and, memory skills and things like that. Just all types of different games. You can kind of think about, again, what are your kids like? And, even recommending games that, are going to help them with their thinking, critical thinking skills. And their learning. Yes, they're learning skills, and as Ms. Cross mentioned as well, with the painting and the crafts, kids love that. Of course, my 5-year-old daughter loves any of that type of stuff, but even my 10-year-old son, I just bought some like a bead kit the other day from Target, and it lets you kind of decorate stars,
One of the
butterflies.
Miss Tucker.
Yeah, with a lot of different beads, you put them on the different holes, and then the parent will end up intervening because they have to get an iron, and they have a like a sheet of paper, and they put that on top of the bead creation and iron it down so the plastic can kind of melt and fuse together. Not melt, but kind of fuse together some. And then they have this, this kind of butterfly creation, or this star, or this flower. And I didn't think my 10-year-old son was going to be as into it as he was, but it's time consuming, it's engaging, they're being creative. Even with the little children, they're practicing their fine motor skills as well. Again, and it takes up a lot of time. I mean, they must have been into that for a couple hours for a couple of days.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
So that was a big help to me bringing that project home. And then also I wanted to mention. Yes,
you gotta have something to do outside of school.
Right. And the essential workers for children again who love art. This is something that some schools have thought of doing this project, where they allow children to create artwork or even write letters and send them to essential workers, doctors and this, and even the patients in the hospitals. So just thinking outside of the box, even just allowing children to write letters to friends or family members, or even if they use technology in that way, getting on Kids Messenger, where the parent is linked to the account and they can see every single thing that child is sending out and receiving. And so, they're able to have social interaction. It can be purposeful. It can be for a brain break. It can be for just some time that you may need. And like, okay, go ahead and send a message to your uncle, or, to one of your friends or something like that. Again, with letter writing. I think, that's a good activity that will keep kids engaged and, feels purposeful. It doesn't feel just like something busy, for them. Busy. And cooking. Right, of course, baking, and different science experiments. Again, outside of the box. It's not necessarily your teacher said to go read page 22 right out of the science book. But look, we're going to make a volcano today, which is very simple to do. Or we're going to make slime today, or we're going to inflate a balloon by creating carbon dioxide, right? And these are simple projects you can look up on YouTube or many different websites and find out how to do with products you already have at home. Baking soda, vinegar, right? Sometimes contact solution may be needed if you're going to make slime, for instance. But that type of stuff is kind of what I've been doing with my kids at home. And again, some of these activities, if the children are a little bit older, they can even do on their own. I'll send my son, like, I want you guys to go ahead and make slime. And then they're working on math because they have to use the measuring cup. Like, we need a half cup of vinegar, or we need, a tablespoon of baking soda, right? Stuff like that. So, things along those lines, I think, are great for kids during this time at home, and great for parents as well.
Exactly. I think that anything
sounds very good.
I think that anything that parents can give their children to do that is going to be time consuming and that will create in them that patience, that critical thinking, that problem solving, where they're puzzles, games, like Ms. Williams suggested, anything that is going to have them to kind of slow down and think of strategies or think of a way to solve their problems. Because when you're looking at the younger children, so our center is 6 weeks we go through school age, but we have 6 weeks through kindergarten classroom. And so we're teaching a lot of executive function skills where they're learning the patience, writing those letters to the essential workers is a way for them to learn empathy and compassion for others. If they know that a friend is not feeling well, or if a friend's or even their grandparents writing a letter and kind of expressing themselves and, you know, helping them use their emotions if they're at the writing phase, or even in a video call when you're speaking with grandparents, which seems to be happening a lot lately now. It's good for children to kind of discuss their feelings, and also for them to hear and understand the adults and them sharing their feelings and their emotions, which would help them gain that empathy for others. And I think that when you're looking at this pandemic and you think about the social emotional piece to early learning,
kind of morgue it out a little bit, kind of like I lost folks.
it can. It'll,
hey, Miss Cross, Miss Williams,
yes.
Both of you are not showing up.
We can hear you.
I may need to log out and come back in.
We hear and see you.
Yeah, 18. Because everybody is logging in speeds, although I have unlimited, is still going to be slow. If the two of you.
Oh, he cut out.
Oh. Yeah.
We lost him again.
Yeah. Oh, I guess he'll be back in.
I know, right? Yeah, so I mean, I like the idea of the letter writing and working
the social emotional skills.
Yeah, I think it's something that is hard to teach, and I think this is definitely a teachable moment for children and parents to understand and hear what their child is actually feeling and what that means. And them sharing what the uncertainty is for them as well. So children can understand this affects not only me, but also those around me, whether you have a sibling or your parents.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that just reminds me, because I came up with some of these ideas. Some of them I have with my children so far, and some of them I haven't yet. But this just reminds me. I'm gonna get them on the project of sending some letters out to some essential workers. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good also when children are able to, when you do an activity that will last, like we did Play-Doh.
Having a little bit of
yes.
That's something that they make at that time, but it's something that they could use over and over.
Right.
So it's something that they'll have to preoccupy themselves from time to time. So I think that's always good.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Mm-hmm.
And the baking, cooking, have them help, have them measure, I remember when my children were little, I bought a no-bake cookbook, and it's just like making raw, granola, trail mix, things like that, where you put some mixed different items that you would typically have for children anyway. But they just enjoyed doing it. Like we would do it on the weekend. It was like, make your own snack. What do you want to make? And so this is definitely something that parents can do, where they can have the children create their own snack and then enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah. Great idea there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow. I wanted to run past an article that I also came across from the Vox website, and it's ironic because it's written by one of their contributors, who themselves is a working parent, and The name of the article is called Working from Home with Kids Feels Unsustainable. Here's how to ease the burden. Written by Cheryl Wishover. As she writes, today I took half of a Xanax to lift the brick off my chest. Does that tell you something? Wrote a mother in a parenting Facebook group on a thread about how working parents are coping with the increased demands of trying to entertain and educate their children while also holding on to jobs. For almost 2 weeks now, and this article was actually written in March, families across the country have been forced into this situation. As offices and schools have shut down and increasingly strict shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect to try to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. The situation feels impossible for two-parent homes where both parents can work from home, and gets exponentially harder for those who work outside of the home. I add financial worries, lack of proper technology, for online distance learning, and logistical challenges like grocery shopping and managing outside time while social distancing. It can feel downright paralyzing. I mean, they got this woman, she taking Xanax. That's how bad she's having it. But I do appreciate a lot of the information that I appreciate the information that you two ladies have offered us. The resources I've come across online. I've heard of like Khan Academy, I think it may be called.
Yes.
Different other resources available for parents. For parents who who are working with their kids over the summertime, and that's something I tell my friends. If you got kids at home, get these websites, get to them, and work with your kids on them. I didn't want to go too much longer on today's show. We are having a few technical difficulties today, but before we go, I would like for each of you to kind of promote yourselves. I know, Miss Williams, you have a book. Let us know where we can get your book, what it's about, any websites or other platforms that you may be on, booking information. Please tell us all about that.
Okay, well, the ebook is available on Amazon. You can read it for free right now, again, through Kindle, Kindle, Unlimited, or you can purchase the book for just $2.99 through Amazon. Again, it's called I Can Help My Sister. And the book, it promotes academic skills as well as social emotional skills. Again, with me being a teacher, as I say, when my daughter was first born, I stayed home for a couple of years with her, trying to help her develop as much as possible. But then I did start working part-time as a substitute teacher. I did that for many years, and I gained a lot of valuable experience in that. I learned a lot of different strategies, just even how to set up the classroom environment, how to work with different children, different age groups, different nationalities. I also have a Master of Education degree from UCLA. So I'm sharing this to say that I put all of that experience and knowledge into writing my book to promote the academic side. So there are specific strategies that the children will use while they're reading the book to help their reading comprehension, to help their reading fluency skills. And again, even the social emotional side. Once they read the story, it is about a young boy who watches his older sister grow up having a disability, and he asks his parents questions, right, as young kids do. 3 or 4 years old, they ask questions, kind of people may think without tact, right? They're not really thinking about hurting someone's feelings, right, or right? How something
Yeah.
may sound. They're just, thinking out loud what they observe and see. So this young boy is asking his mother and his father different questions about his older sister, right? Why is she behaving in this manner, or why is she not able to do this or do that? And that goes on throughout the book. But what happens is the family as a whole, they realize ways they can engage their the oldest sibling with her disabilities in family routines, family outings, events and things like that. And that shows up even in the illustrations, right? In one particular illustration, they're at the San Diego Zoo, right? In another one, they're out at a restaurant together, right? So just seeing these illustrations, the children can relate to them. They're drawn in. And again, they're exercising that empathy, and just kind of just getting to think about it, right? Just thinking about those ways that they can be compassionate and help other people. And that's what the young boy ends up saying at the end of the book. What are the ways I can help my sister, right? So it's a good book for those reasons, for the academic side and the social emotional side. I do have a Facebook page strictly dedicated to the book, and it's just I Can Help My Sister. You can find me on Facebook under Latrice Williams, and then I also have a page called Shining Stars Educational Consulting and Tutoring. That's on Facebook as well. And I have taught and tutored children in Spanish, in multiple subjects, core content subjects. So that's a business of mine that I have ran since 2016. So you can see videos on there. You can see pictures on there. You can see more about my educational philosophy, things along those lines. So yeah, I guess that's what I can share. And thank you, Mr. Clay, for this time today. Thank you, Ms. Cross. I loved our conversation and dialogue and all the ideas that came out. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Ms. Williams. A lot of good information, a lot of good resources we got from you. And everybody, please be sure to log on to Amazon Unlimited and be sure to purchase the ebook, physical copy of the book. Log on to the Facebook pages and check Ms. Williams out. Okay, Miss Alicia Cross, given your position in your industry, take us out with a little info about where they can find you, what resources you have available, if more. But yeah, close us out today.
Okay. So I'm not as established as Miss Williams, but I'm well on my way. So I first I would like to suggest to parents that the biggest thing that they can do to help themselves and to help their children during this pandemic is to create a schedule and to follow that schedule, because children need that structure. And if they have it the same every day as they do when they go into school or go into a child care center, they have it laid out for them. There's a lunchtime, there's a nap time, there's activity times. And so if they can either continue the schedule that their center had or create a schedule at home that works for them, that way their child has that structure in that environment. So who am I? I am actually, I start my master's program tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. And I am a regional officer. So I work with NAEYC. We are an affiliate of NAEYC at mdaeyc.org. Each state has an affiliate. And so Maryland, that is the Maryland affiliate. NAEYC is the umbrella, the national organization, and they set the standards for early childhood education. And they're also working with a number of other organizations to create the power to the profession. And so that's a lot of what we're doing right now. In Maryland is we're hosting the power. Well, we started, and the quarantine happened, or our lockdown. But we are able to we'll be creating some webinars that you can check out on our page if you go to mdaeyc.org, and that will have our schedule. We also have, so I'm the Montgomery County regional officer for the affiliate, sorry. So we also did the No Small Matter, which was a film bringing light to early childhood education, where we want people to understand that this is a profession and we are early childhood educators, and we are in the early childhood profession. And so we should be seen as professionals and not just your average daycare or babysitter. And so we have to change that language. And so that's one of the things that we're working to do, is to change the language and the way that we are looked at or even presented in that manner. So I do a lot of work with that right now.
Mm-hmm. 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 Great.
All right. Well, I want to thank you two again for being part of today's broadcast. And again, everyone, be sure to reach out to these young ladies if you need of any resources or assistance with anything. Real quick before we go, I have a few comments from a few people on the line. Facebook allowed some comments to come in today. We have a comment about there are some great websites for kids. One was shared with military families, which is another section of our community that is not talked about often.
Right.
That has a list. The website is actionforhealthykids.org /COVID-19 and at-home resources. She goes on to say parents should also take the opportunity to teach kids the basics of life, as it's been mentioned here: cleaning, saving, buying a house, investing, character building, sewing, cooking, is what's been mentioned here. Parents got a lot on a lot on their plates with this pandemic affecting us the way that it has. And so hopefully, today's show, again, will be a good resource, for those logging in. And if anybody, please share this video. Please share this podcast on your page. Tell your friends to share it on their pages. Again, thank you two for being a part of today's show. We're going to end it this week, and be sure to tune in next week, everybody. Same bat time, same bat channel. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Have a good rest of your day.
All right.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye to you both.
No problem. All right. All right. Okay, we just ended the broadcast. All right. There it is.